As insecurity continues to affect food production in Nigeria, some farmers who can access their farms are lamenting over the cost of fertilizer, pesticides and herbicides. Welcome to Agri-Prenuer. I am Gaza Yakubu. In this episode, we look at how maize farmers in Katsina, Kaduna and the FCT are coping with the challenges of insecurity and the cost of production. We start from Katsina.
Agriculture is the mainstay of Katsina State, which has a population of over 8 million people, according to National Population Commission projection. The state produces maize, millet and sorghum as food crops in both wet and dry season farming. Maize, which serves as the major food crop for the over 90% of the people of Katsina State, is hitherto produced only in local government areas in southern Katsina. However, many thanks to public and private farm institutes who commit themselves in making new innovations with the introduction of new seeds, now large quantity of maize is grown in every part of Katsina State.
Alhamdulillah, sabbin dabarun da muke amfani da su shine muna bakin kokarinmu wajen sa takin Hausa da kuma gabatar da samun kuɗi ta bangaren wa'ansu 'yan kasuwa su kama mu saboda cewa mu zuba taki saboda mu kaddamar da wannan noman da muke yi. Idan har muka samu nasara wajen wannan noman da muke ciki, to da izinin ubangiji sai mu dan sai da abin da ya kamata mu biya su.
Muna sa ran masarar da za a noma masara ingantacce, kuma za a samar da masara mai yawa, kuma za ta sanya ta ba za ta yi tsadar da ake zaton cewa za ta yi, amma kuma za ta yi tsadar da manomi in ya sayar da, yanzu ana sayar da taki a 21,000 har zuwa 25,000. to ina tabbatar ma in dai kai amfani da taki buhu guda, to za ka iya samun masara buhu 3. to ba abin da ya fi wannan jin daɗi. Sannan kuma wannan buhu 3 din in ka tashi sai da shi, za ka sai da daidai da farashin da ka sai taki nan ko fiye da ka sai taki nan. to kaga ko ba komi in ka ɗauka ma da wahalolin da kai da sauransu, akalla buhu guda ya fada cikin riba.
Though the state and federal government's funds allocation to agriculture remains a mirage over the years, maize producers in Katsina State maintained the tide by producing enough for human and animals consumption. The only factors that affect the production of maize in Katsina State is insecurity bedeviling farming communities that forced many, if not all, farmers out of the business. Most of the major maize farmers sacked out by the business are in the insecurity-prone local government areas such as Dandume, Sabwa, Faskari, Kankara, Funtua, Bakori, Tanja, Musawa, and Matazu.
People, physically, they are in terrible condition. The government, on the other hand, is saying that it is doing a lot. But, the result of whatever the government is doing is not very apparent. So people are bound to speculate. And it is an unfortunate situation. Secondly, the whole concept of the situation we are in today, it's not the making of this government. It's an older phenomenon. It has started a very, very long time ago. It is only that this government has come and it has stamped its foot It wants to do some things correctly, and people are resisting it.
Kai ne manomi ka je gona an ce maka wani an ta da zo za a dauki rayuwarka kaga dole ka tsere ka kyala gonas kuma kana cikin bayan gonan ka dauke ka kaga wani gona ake saidawa ake ban soji.
Similarly, farmers everywhere in Katsina State are blaming authorities for high cost of farm inputs such as fertilizers, pesticides, and herbicides, among many other factors affecting maize production. To a large extent, the farmers are not asking for the impossible. All they are saying is let them have access to genuine farm inputs at a subsidized rate. Another challenge facing the sector, especially maize production, is that farmers find it extremely very difficult to access loans from agricultural financial institutions with low interest rates. They are pointing accusing fingers on the federal and state governments for not doing enough to protect farmers and provide enabling environment that will help them to produce maize for domestic and export purposes.
Gaskiya a bangaren tallafi na noman damana da muke yi a nan yankin garin Ajiwa, ina da ikinin cewa tabbacin cewa ba ma da wani tallafi da ya matso a wurinmu a kan fannin noman masara da muke gindayarwa. Bisa ga abin da ya sa na ce haka, ni dai manomi ne wanda ya kasance duk wani tallafi da zai shigo ta ratsan jihar Katsina yankin Ɓata Garawa, to ina da tabbacin cewa za ni ji labari ko kuma za ya zo a wurina ko zai zo wajen mahaifina ko kuma zai zo wajen wani wanda nake tabbaci zai gaya mani.
As at today, in most of the markets in Katsina State, the price of maize is between 22 to 23,000 naira per bag, while the price of urea fertilizer stood at 28,000 naira per bag, meaning that one has to sell at least 2 bags of maize to buy 1 bag of urea fertilizer, which many farmers are saying is unhealthy to the business. In Katsina State, only very few farmers are aware and ready to embrace mechanized farming, especially among peasant farmers who are of the majority, a situation that calls for a vigorous public enlightenment campaign if only the trend is to be reversed for the overall development of the sector.
Irin da za ka sa a nan kada ka rene shi a nan. Ka je wani wuri ka rene irin ka zo nan ka sa to shine in ka sa magani zai yi abin. Amma ka rene iri a cikin gonarka ka kuma magungunan duk da ka sa kuma shekara mai zuwa ka sake dawowa ka yi amfani da sai magunguna, to za ka cewa kwarin ka kullum karuwa yake. Amma ka nemo iri a wani wuri ka rene shi a nan kuma ka rika cancanza magunguna na su kansu kwararka, to insha Allah wata za a samu nasara. To saboda haka in Allah so da yadda kamfanukan sai da iri suka shigo mana da iri mai kyau, to in Allah ina tabbatar ma shekara mai zuwa za ga cewa gonakan masara Allah ya yawa da su a wannan jihar.
Agriculture, which is the major employer of labor and one of the major contributor to the Nigeria's gross domestic product (GDP), requires not only mere propaganda, but real commitments to salvage it from collapsing. Here, the most important thing to look into is addressing insecurity head-on without further delay. This will enable all farmers access their farms and participate actively in maize and other food as well as cash crops production for an accelerated socio-economic development, not only in Katsina State, but Nigeria as a whole. This is also true if the dream of attaining food sufficiency in Nigeria could be achieved.
Indeed, insecurity has ripple effect on the agricultural sector. But unlike in Katsina, farmers in the FCT are using modern skills to overcome insecurity and the cost of production. Although some farmers are still lamenting the cost of application of fertilizer to their maize farm, others have found an alternative in the use of manure. Let's take a look. The use of manure is becoming predominant among farmers in the FCT who are engaged in mixed crop farming, leading to less contact and interest with the market to acquire fertilizer.
Well, we have a substitute for fertilizer, which is fowl dungs. We use manure, we use compost manure. So in case of the fertilizer, and because it's high, what you're producing, if you should apply fertilizer twice, that is 60,000 naira, if not 70,000 naira. And you may not even get your cost of production, back, your capital back. So instead of that, we go for a lesser manure. Then we go for manure instead of fertilizer. So this year particularly, I use manure instead of fertilizer. It's effective, but fertilizer aids the maize to grow faster. It grows very fast, but the span, when you apply fertilizer, you apply like 2 times before you harvest the corn. You apply it when the corn is growing, and you also apply it when it's about producing, so that the first time you use it for growth of the crop, the second time you use it for seed, the seed inside. So if you will not like this, if you apply it early and you leave it, it will grow and it will not be able to give you a thick fruit like this. But if you apply it when it starts producing, you now apply the second time, it's able to produce very well. Why fertilizer, the manure, you apply it once, but it lasts longer. Okay. It can take the corn throughout its season and it will produce very well. This is not fertilizer, this is manure.
For those who have no animals like this farmer, the cost of fertilizer is a great deal to his farming system.
Da duk shekaru akan wara ce ga taki daga bangaren manoma, ni ma ina daga cikin samun wa'annan. Amma a shekarun nan bane a gaskiya ko mudu ba mu samu ba. Sai dai abin da kai asusu zaka ci shi zaka raba biyu, ka bar ma gidanka wani, ka cire wani ka sayar, ka sai taki. Kuma yanzu idan ka hidda kudin buhun masara bai kawo ma taki gida. Kaga damuwan yana da yawa. Yanzu yuriya ita ce muke ganin karamin taki. Zaka sa naira 27,000 a baka buhun yuriya. Mudun ta wannan 700 yake. Ina nawa buhun masara yake yanzu 20,000. Kaga mu mun kasa gane wannan kan abu. Noma na daraja, to kuma taki ya wuce noman daraja. Sai mu ba mu gane inda wannan abun ya nufa ba.
It will definitely have impact to the nation. Today, we have over 200 million people, and if government close down our borders with the good intention to support local production, and if farmers cannot go to farm for obvious reasons, one, because of the fear of their life, Two, because high cost of inputs and whatever, they cannot produce massively. Then definitely there will be food crisis in the country. The world, the Organization for Agriculture has also predicted that there will be hunger, there will be food crisis in Nigeria. So it's very alarming. Nobody is praying for that, but we have to be extra careful. Government has to put a lot of resources. Government has to also deploy a lot of security to make sure that people go to their farm and produce massively. Else, then we will land ourselves in trouble.
To overcome the challenges of insecurity, Dr. Stella Nwagu, a farmer, is finding her compound more convenient to produce crop. She has adopted some new methods of maximizing space.
Already they're planting corn. Last year, ordinarily I wouldn't plant corn here. I usually would go to the bigger farm, to the bigger hectarage to plant farm. So now I would have to maximize what we have here. I will have to maximize. At least the little you're able to do, you are confident you can get the yield. But for those that have the liver, they are welcome to try. And those that are able to farm and succeed in harvesting will of course make a lot of money this year.
She blames insecurity as a factor that has prevented her from accessing her farmland.
I, for one, I have 10 hectares of land that I don't intend to touch this year because I've been too beaten. I was harshly beaten last year. The cows ate everything, and there's nowhere to find compensation for those things. It was a lot of loss. Where would I find the courage to go again? Why would I go again when I do not have any guarantee that I will have a yield this year? What has changed? You can't keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result. So I am not going to farm. The 10 hectares will lie fallow this year, unless some other person wants to try. But I'm not willing to take that risk.
The cost of fertilizer, pesticides and herbicides is giving farmers some concern over their anticipated harvest. They fear there will be less profit in maize production this year.
Yanzu kaga ina ganin a wannan shekara akalla cikin babu ina ganin sai buhu 25 na taki. To kaga idan total din kudin nan zaka yi man me zai baka? Sana'a yanayin masara kaga yanzu tunda ban gama girbewa na kai ta gida ba ce ma ga adadin buhunan da san samu ba. Allah ne ya san wannan, amma ina sa ran Allah da akwai riba a ciki.
The National Bureau of Statistics of the Federal Republic of Nigeria confirmed that maize is one of the major crops largely produced in the country. Data from the United States Department of Agriculture shows that Nigeria is providing 10 times more maize yearly now than it did at independence in 1960. But with the challenges of increase in crop production and lack of access to farmland, some farmers may resort to producing other crops that may be less expensive. Kaduna is considered to be one of the largest producers of maize in Nigeria, but the level of insecurity in the state is a potential threat to its position in maize production. Agri-Prenuer visited some villages and spoke to farmers who identify factors that may lead to low level of maize production this year.
Farmers in Zaria are anticipating first harvest lost in this year's farming season. They attributed it to spate of insecurity coupled with some human and natural factors that negate high-level yield of maize production in most part of the farming community.
Bana gano masara dai Allah ya ba mu ita mun same ta amma mun gamu da cikas tun farkon ruwa da ruwa ya so yawa aka samu dan matsaloli daban-daban amma dai Allah ya hore wannan matsalolin.
The village head of Tohu, Malam Yusuf Tuku, noted that maize farmers are facing several challenges this year.
Yawan ruwa da gwazalma da farko da aka samu a wannan yanayin hakanan duk dai kewayen na an same shi. A dukkan nawa kan buhu 30-40 zuwa 50 bakin nan dai ba mu wuce nan saboda duk dai abin da ya zama da kyar ake kaiwa. Da ake da salari da za ka sai taki a arha to akan yi noma sosai amma yanzu dai kam sai dai a hankali kawai.
He said, though, the farmers were not seriously affected by insecurity, yet we are at the beginning of the farming season reluctant to invest heavily in maize farming due to the fear of banditry activities that may eventually encroach into their area. A member of the Maize Farmers Association of Nigeria, Sabangari Local Government Branch, Ilyasu Aliyu Shikadam, said in the past he used to cultivate about 80 to 100 bags of maize at the end of each harvest year, but predicted low-level production in this year.
To, idan Allah ya bayar ana samun buhu 100, buhu 80, buhu 70. Mun gode Allah amma mun sami dan tangarda. Na farkon fari bayan mun yi shuka sai ruwa sai dan yawa haka sai ya rike amfanin to bayan haka kuma sai wasu tsuntsotsi suke rike tushen masaras kaman gwazalma da tana a tushen masaras in kana duba sai ga ai ga tana nan ta nade masaran sai ga masaran nan ja kai ta zuba taki
He explained that exorbitant price of assorted fertilizer that doubled its amount this year, coupled with the eventual dreaded worms that invaded most maize farms in the area, will surely prevent farmers from recording high yield of maize during harvest. Malam Ilyasu expressed fear that maize scarcity looms in the country at the end of this year's farming season.
Amfanin bana ba irin na bara bane amma da gaskiya bana fa masara dai to wanda ma Allah ya sa ya noma dai yana da iyali to fa ya aje kayan shi.
A peasant farmer also in Tohu village, Ahmed Musa Tohu, said if not because of the cost of purchasing power of assorted fertilizer this year, maize farmers will have smiled home after harvest. He attributed that the abundant rainfall recorded in all parts of Kaduna State will have produced a bumper harvest to all farmers in the state, which is the highest production base of maize farming in the country. Explaining that currently the market price of maize in Giwa market per bag is now between 8,000 to 9,000 naira, when a bag of urea fertilizer is about 25,000 and NPK about 30,000 naira.
yanzu kuma masara ba ta wuce 9,000 ba 8,000 to ai kaga al'amarin ai sai dai kuma dai hali.
Also commenting a large-scale maize farmer in the state and Secretary General Board of Trustees, National Maize Commodity Buyers and Sellers of Maize, Alhaji Salisu Nuhu Mai Masara Suba, predicted shortage of maize commodity and high market price of maize this year.
Idan muka duba da yanayi yanda aka samu amfanin gona a bara, muka comparing da amfanin gona na bana da ake tunanin cewa za a investin din shi, so gaskiya akwai bambanci mai yawa. Bara an fi samun amfani fiye da bana, wannan shi ne gaskiya. Yawan amfanin gaskiya ya fi bara. Farashi kuma to abin da Allah shi ya ban maka ya sani, amma ga yanda alamu yake nunawa zai wuya a ce yanda aka samu darajar amfani a bara
Mai Masara observed that some dreaded worms have invaded maize farm, eating the roots and making the crops look reddish in color, thereby hindering growth of the crop. He anticipated deeper economic crunch due to the low level of maize production in the country. He expressed fear that even job losses may also be recorded in such processing companies because of inadequate production output. Salisu Mai Masara, however, blamed government for exporting assorted fertilizer to some neighboring countries, when the demand is high among Nigerian farmers.
Ya kamata gwamnatin da wuri ne ta ɗauki mataki akan yadda ake harkokin taki a ƙasar nan. Kamfanonin taki gaskiya suna yin abin, kowa yana abin da ya ga dama ne. Don shi ya kawo wannan na ƙasun. So inda gwamnati tuntuni ya kamata a ce ta ɗauki matakai ga kamfanonin da suke yin taki, kowanne ya zamanta a inda wani taimako da za ta yi musu yadda abubuwan zai zama ba a sami irin wannan matsalan karancin takin ba to za ta iya. Sannan kuma gwamnati ta ƙara ba da daman takin nan ya tsada. A nan ƙasa ake takin nan, kuma mu takin nan bai ishe mu ba, kuma kowane lokaci ana kwashe takin nan daga wannan ƙasan ana fita da shi waje. To ta yaya za a yi a ce manomi an taimake shi?
Meanwhile, Agri-Prenuer observed that though there was low level of rainfall at the beginning of this year's farming season, the rain had stabilized as the farming season picked up. While enlightened maize farmers have resolved to purchase pesticide and herbicide at very exorbitant rate just to ameliorate the harmful effect of the dreaded worms eating the roots of maize in order to record bumper harvest.
Nigeria, a country with a population of over 200 million people and with the closing of its food importation border, there is need to produce to meet up to its local demand. And if not addressed, the security situation can plunge the country into food crisis. And with that, we've come to the end of today's episode of Agri-Prenuer. Keep a date with us next time. I am Gaza Yakubu.